TitleMatchNetwork.com.
And again, everything was through Paige. You know, it was usually an idea of mine or Disco's or someone else. But then we'd go through Paige, and Paige would get it to Eric and back to us. Same thing with Kidman. Kidman, the whole time I was in WCW, never once called and asked for a job. We did talk on the phone, but never asked for me to get him in there.
Right.
And then I heard the rumors of them bringing in Ray and Rey Mysterio. And I went to Terry, and I said, Terry, I'm like, it's great. I love Ray. Ray, you know, he's fucking awesome. But who are you going to have him work with? He goes, you're right. I'm like, I think I know somebody. So he goes, well, you know who to go to. So I went to Paige. I showed him the tape of the shooting star. And, you know, just some stuff Kidman could do. And Paige said, tell me to come down here. So I called up Kidman. He came down, did a tryout. It happened to be on a Friday. Wrestled in front of Paige. Then he, you know, and fucking Terry never saw the shooting star, I don't think. If he did, he didn't see anyone do it live. So and on Fridays, every other Friday, I think we got paid every 2 weeks there. Either every Friday, every 2 Fridays. People would come to the power plant to get their check instead of having to wait to get it mailed out. And if you didn't pick it up, then it got mailed out. So tons of people came to get their check that day, and every single guy that came, Kidman, do it again. So fucking Kidman literally probably did 20 or 30 shooting stars that day. His fucking knee was all busted up. But, you know, Paige called up Bischoff, said, yeah, I watch him, he's good. And on Paige's word, Bischoff said, hire him. But I got to, Kidman went home before that. And I think on Saturday, I got to call Kidman and said, they're going to hire you, bro. So cool. Back down within a week.
What about Billy Kidman? When was the first time you met Billy?
Right out of college, I went down to South Carolina. I wrestled down there in '92. Trained at Mooley School. Met Sinister Minister Jim Mitchell.
Right, I was going to ask you how you met Jim too.
Yep, I met him right out of college.
Okay.
So I might as well stop there. I mean, if you're going to do a timeline. As a physical therapist, physical therapy to this day is still in high demand. So you can pretty much, I signed on with a traveling company out of California, and I would just tell them where I wanted to go. So my second half of my senior year, I started writing down anybody who wrote a letter to Meltzer from South Carolina.
The reader's page?
Yeah. If I saw their name, I wrote it down. One of them was Jeff Wilson, is his name. So I wrote his name down. He was one of the top on the list, one of the first guys I saw. So I picked South Carolina because I saw that was a hot spot for indies. It was pretty central. There's a lot of Greg Price was running there. He was actually using Rob Van Dam back then.
I remember.
Rob Zukowski. I actually wrote Zukowski a letter because he wrote one in and put his real address. And I wrote him a letter saying, I want to come down there and work. Can you help me out? He never responded. But he remembered the letter when I finally did meet him.
That's pretty cool.
And Greg and him used to be well in South Carolina. They actually used to, every now and again, because we would do spot shows all over the place. So they would bring me in as champion and defending against him, and he'd win the belt every night.
Huh.
So I never actually hold the belt. I'd have it the night I got there, lose it to him. So they did that a couple of times. But when I got to South Carolina, right off the bat, they were doing a show in the Army. NWA was WCW at the time. I don't know if it was. Yeah, it would have been WCW at the time. And so I called up Jeff Wilson. Literally went to a phone book, and there was a ton. Wilson's a common name. Huh. I got lucky. There was only 2 Jeffs, and I called him first. And he must have thought I was a nut. This guy's calling me off the Observer page and saying, do you want to drive from South Carolina to Atlanta to go watch wrestling in the Army? Huh. So we got to talk, and I told him I've done some indies, so just a handful of indies, and, I've been trained. And he said, well, me and my friend will come over and meet you, and maybe we'll be able to hook you up, because my friend's a good manager. He does a lot of local shows as a manager. So him and Jim Mitchell showed up. And Jim took a liking to me right away and saw that I had talent. He saw the tapes. He saw, I was rough around the edges. In fact, I was working Mexican style. I was working right side of the body. I was working right on, right leg at the time. Because that's the Lower East Side. That's how they taught me.
Right.
So there were some things they had to teach me, and but Jim took a liking. Jeff, who ended up, I think he still works in Georgia. It's something Bailey, J.W. Bailey or something.
Okay, yeah.
That's Jeff Wilson, believe it or not.
Wow.
So those 2 guys came over, and literally, I found out later that as soon as Jeff hung up with me, he called up Mitchell and goes, I got a mark. We're going to work him for as much money and as much booze as we can. So one of the things Jeff told me when they came over, make sure I had beer. So I had to give them beer. But Jim Mitchell's a weird dude, man. Jim's basically a shoot Satanist.
Yeah.
That's more of a shoot than people realize. But it's not what people think.
Right.
It has nothing. I don't even think he's religious at all. I don't think he believes in anything.
Right.
Satanism is, if you're interested, look it up. It has really nothing to do with religion. It's more survival of the fittest stuff. But he does have a heart, beyond that. And I think he didn't want to work me. He saw that I was a good person, and he saw I had talent. And right off the bat, he told me pretty quickly what Jeff was going to do. So Jeff wasn't invited back to the house too often. But Jim came over a lot and ended up crashing there a lot. Jim, at the time, was struggling.
Now, you teamed with Billy Kidman too early on, right?
Right after, after I spent 2 years in South Carolina.
Right.
And then I had enough. I'd been in the business about 2.5, 3 years. And I felt I wasn't progressing far enough or fast enough and got fed up. Fed up with the indies, fed up with the bullshit, fed up with the indie politics. And said, fuck it, I'm going to quit. So I moved up to Connecticut. It's just a weird place to move if you're going to quit wrestling. Cause
exactly.
I used to drive from New York. Every weekend I'd go home to New York and hang out with my friends. And then I'd have to drive up 95. I lived in Wallingford and worked out of that. And I literally had to pass WWE headquarters every fucking weekend.
Right.
And I'm sitting there saying, no, I should quit this. This is stupid. I want to do this for a living. And it was like a constant reminder. Every weekend I had to see that fucking building.
Huh.
So, after 3 months in Connecticut, I'm like, I got to get back in. So I ended up moving to Pennsylvania just because I hated my job in Connecticut. So I said, I just moved. I wanted to stay in the Northeast. Well, I'll start doing Northeast Indies. And I just happened to get a job in Allentown and didn't even know Alpha out of school. And within a few weeks of living there, I found Alpha out of school, went down. Alpha took a liking to me.
Right.
And when I got down there was this kid that was sitting in the corner that Alpha was. I don't think he was letting him train yet. He was too young. And it was Kidman. And pretty early on, he started training, or as soon as I got there, he just started. I think he wasn't being allowed to train yet. I think it was a few weeks later that Alpha finally said, all right, you can start training. And as soon as I got to Alpha school, I became one of the head trainers pretty much. I had 3 years experience. I was, definitely more experienced than any students coming in. He had some other guys that had been working for a while, but they hadn't, they weren't as dedicated as I was. Because I would go every night if I could. So any night he needed me, any show, I helped out. So, I pretty much helped train Kidman from the very beginning. And, I needed someone that could go. Me and him back then, we have one tape. I don't know if he still has it. I had it, but it got thrown out. 45 minutes just off the top of our heads, just me and him.
Right.
We taped it, and then after we watched, after we're done, we go over and watch it. And that's when I was getting tapes in Japan. And I saw Jushin Liger do the shooting star. And I said, Billy, I think you can do this. Actually, I called him Spider. I thought I said he's small like a spider monkey.
Huh.
So one of his first names was Spider, Spyder, Spider Gruner maybe. But I said, Spider, I think you can do this. So he came over to my house, we watched a tape, he goes, yeah, I can do that. So we went down to school and we tried it. I think he still has film of both of us tried it, dude. Just absolutely killing myself. Every time, straight down.
Crash pads and all?
Yeah, we had I don't think it was a full-fledged one now. I think it was like a half-ass one.
Right.
So I remember it was killing me every time. And he was nailing it almost right off the bat. And then I had a memory of when I first started going down to the Lower East Side gym. I think Bigelow was doing the moonsault, but not too many people were doing it. I'm like, you know what? I can do that move. So I started practicing it down at the Lower East Side. And some guy came in on Saturday, some guy who'd been around for a while. I think he'd been working 6 or 7 years. And I kept hitting it on either nothing or I'd lay it out like a broom. So I'd make sure the timing and the positioning was right. And he goes, fuck the broom. And he laid down. I'm like, dude, no way I'm fucking doing this with you laying there. He goes, you're going to have to do it sooner or later.
Right.
So, after that, and I don't remember the guy's name, but I remember just thinking, wow, that was really nice for him to do that. So right away, man, I said, do a few more on the pad. And I'm laying down, dude.
Right.
So he was scared too, but he pretty much hit it right. That is one of the scariest movies to lay down for.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. It's just the spin is so odd, and he's so close to the ropes. You're afraid for him. You're afraid for yourself. It's a horrible move to lay that for, but he pretty much hit it right off the bat.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.